Hey, welcome to Out of the Box Healing. My name is Jessica. Um, I am a foot zone and a quantum healing practitioner. Essentially, I help others on their journey in their healing process. I'm very personally passionate about my own healing, and I really love assisting others as well in this process. Today I have back my friend Robert. We This will be our third podcast, Robert. It's been really fun to have you on, and I really love the wisdom and just the insights that you carry. And so I'm really thrilled to have you on again. We decided to collectively we thought about what would be a good topic to discuss today. And one that's coming up for me personally is let me see, is just overcoming injustices. And I think in my own personal life, as I've overcome some different challenges, this topic just seems to keep like coming up. And so I'd really love to open this conversation with you and get some of your personal insights and how this occurs to you.
Well, thank you. I love that you asked me. This has been one of the things as I do the work in my own life and then with the people I work with, my senses of being unfairly treated uh, in ways that I felt may have been unethical or immoral. And in those places, how, it impacts my inner peace and how it impacts the way others feel, the ones I'm working with, the upsets that they're in, and the sadness and the anger, the grief, and all the emotions that just bombard the system in front of this idea called injustice.
Mhm.
And I'd really love to hear an example from you of what injustice looked like for you and how that impacted you. And as you share that with the listeners, I think there's an opportunity for others to feel into what you're sharing and find something similar in their own lives where they can relate. I would be surprised if there's anyone listening who hasn't felt like there's some justice that's happened to them personally or someone they care for deeply. And we need a better way to deal with it
Yeah.
than the way we've been doing it in the past. And so this is what this conversation would open up for us. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to share an experience. I guess one thing though that comes to mind before I share that is, you think about some of the most popular movies that are displayed, and often there's this great injustice an individual's gone through. And I think collectively we can all resonate on like on this topic and universally because um yeah, like you're saying, we've all gone through some form of injustice, and it can be so painful to let that go. And um, so I, one thing that keeps coming up for me personally is I've had a relationship where for years and years and years, it's just been a relationship that where there's been continual like persecution in some way or another, where there's been like verbal and emotional abuse and different forms of betrayal. And it's been really, really challenging because on this side and the way I'm viewing it, it's felt like it's felt like just it's just felt like this ongoing abuse. And I know it's showing up like as a teacher for me, but it's like unrelenting, and whenever I feel like I start to shift through it or distance myself from this connection. Sorry, I've had a
That's
cold.
how it affects you, huh? It chokes you up. Just
It's
thinking about it.
Yeah, probably, but I also have a
Yeah,
cold.
yeah, I get that.
Anyways, so it's been like really emotional. Like I feel like as I've tried to heal from it, it this individual come back with more things, and it's like I'm constantly being pushed in this corner trying to reassess, where to take my power back. And it's really like I think it's an invitation to either go to victim or to a place of taking my power back. Um but it's really challenging. So
Yeah, it is. Can you give an example of a specific abuse that that's relatable to other people, whether it's verbal, more verbal than physical? Can you share something specific that was said?
um I'm sorry, I have a cold. This individual will often do things to try to paint me as crazy to other people. So they'll, like, when I tried to express myself or share things, instead of coming from a place of understanding, they'll try to flip what I'm saying and distort it and then kind of smear campaign me to others.
So what specifically was said?
Mm,
And a line, one really pertinent, terrible, offensive line, sentence, statement, so to speak.
well, I think one of those is like, she's crazy.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you hear this person say you're crazy, you hear it from other people around you who's been in communication with this other person.
Hmm.
And how do they say you're crazy? What's the language, the wording?
Oh my gosh, Robert, I gotta pause.
So you're feeling better? Got the throat cleared? We can
Oh
move
my God.
on.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Again, when we're talking about really sensitive subjects, it can just cause us to not be able to speak.
Yeah.
And especially we're feeling attacked and we are struggling between, well, I don't want to go into defense and I don't want to go into attack and I don't know what to do. And the throat clamps down and we, yeah, it really chokes off our expression.
Yeah.
And the thing I was asking you is, I know the direct communication from the one you're referencing is the language has been you're crazy.
Yeah.
Those other people who coming back to you may have heard this other person. Do they say you're crazy or do they say or do something that implies you're crazy?
Well, I have heard like kind of in the background, like that phrase of you're crazy. So it's a little bit of both, but I think mostly it's being implied.
Is it a look? Is it a tone in their voice?
It's the way they're communicating. Like there's times where I'll try to share like feelings on a matter or I'll try to like resolve something. And in that process of trying to resolve, they'll come back and like make it sound like I'm stupid, like, and that they don't understand me, and like nobody understands me, like I'm beyond, like,
Being understood?
yeah. And
Totally.
like questioning my sanity.
So when you question your sanity sometimes, don't you?
um well, I guess I do, but I think more of it's learned, like, it's programming is more of what it feels like. Yeah.
Sure. So, and the attack is programming too?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're pointing to, what you're speaking of, is this subconscious programming that is built into the egoic mind, this aspect of our personality that's being run by the egoic mind. And that part of the personality doesn't love you. The ego doesn't really love. It says it loves, but it doesn't really love. It'll give loving thoughts and give loving actions. And there's always a hook in that one. It gives love, quote unquote, gives love to get love. And when it doesn't get what it wants, it goes into attack. And when I feel attacked, the ego goes into a defense mechanism. I had a teacher said it this way: the first act of war is defense.
Mm.
And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. No, the attack's the first act. And I've been with that a long time, and it's present without me defending, the war doesn't get going. So before it's just an insult or an attack, but with no response or no reaction or no defense, let me go to no defense, the war doesn't escalate.
That's really good. I think that's
Yeah,
very true.
surprising, isn't it?
It
Because
is.
we always, when
It's
we
not easy.
started it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's so not easy to do sometimes. And I think sometimes in the silence, like you're saying, I'm feeling kind of choked up because of being silenced. And so how do you navigate that? Because it doesn't seem like going silent is very healthy either.
no, silence isn't what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
What I'm referencing is a different response. And it'll take some time to set that whole construct up so it makes sense. And so we're going to be a little gentle here, and we're going to sneak into this in a way that the ego's not going to get all riled up and go into another greater defense thing. But the ego is not who you are. It's who you think you are. And I say that intentionally because the ego is that which is running that voice in your head that thinks about all the problems and thinks about all the possible solutions and tries to control and dominate and manipulate to make sure the future turns out the way this thing thinks it should and wants it to be. Its mechanism, though, because of its nature, lives and creates conflict. The ego by nature is always creating conflict. And the more it can create internal conflict, and the more I give my focus and attention to it, the more I empower the ego to maintain that dynamic. For me, the difference was when I could discern what was coming from the ego and what was coming from a higher or a truer aspect of who I am. You could say the ego would be the lower mind that's based in fear and the belief of separation and lack. And in that dynamic, all it has is trying to control and dominate the self or the world around it. And the higher mind, the mind that lives, the higher mind, the mind that's in unconditional love, the higher mind that is in true knowing and true integrity and true peace, the higher mind is the one that I'd like to have us responding from. I would have to get connected to that mind. And that takes the deeper inner work. That takes the work of, let me say it this way. A lot of my clients, I have to spend first several weeks working with them in the idea of just noticing how they react, noticing what they're doing that they've been doing that's been unconscious, just habitual patterns of response, habitual patterns of acting, things that are being run by these deep subconscious programs, these patterns. And until those get identified and seen for what they are, they don't they don't unhook.
Mhm.
Once they're seen for what they are, then when it comes up, the next time it comes up, there's a little less attachment to it possible. Little less, what's the word I want to use? I'm not engaging in it as much. So I'm not giving it as much energy. And if I don't give it my energy, and how we give energy to the ego is through where we put our attention. Attention. You've heard this thing where attention goes, energy flows.
Mhm.
We say the same thing about intention. Attention is focus. And if we focus on the perceived injury, we focus on retaliation, we focus on defense, we're going to continue to empower that system. And that is the system of justice and injustice. The system of justice that's being used in the world and the injustice that's being in the world is all part of the egoic mind programming. It's not of the higher mind.
Mhm.
It is not of your true self. It is this smaller, wounded self that was born in times of upset, times of assaults, times of care, like there's something wrong here. That started when we were just very little.
Mhm.
And these automatic programs begin to just run our lives.
Yeah.
You're a teacher of the law of attraction. So attack attracts, fill in the blank, you see? When you're attacking, what does it attract more of?
More attacking,
And when you're defending, what does it attract?
more defending.
So haven't you noticed in your dynamic with this individual that we're talking about that the more you feel attacked, the more you go into defense, and the more the other one feels attacked and goes into more defense, and then the attack and defending things just flip back and forth, flip back and forth, flip back and forth, and this is ongoing, 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 which
Well,
is what you actually described in the beginning, wasn't it?
yeah, or it just comes to a place of like you don't you stop talking, right? And then you feel like you're holding on to this energy.
Yeah, and the not talking is part of your defense mechanism.
Okay. Well, it's been interesting because I've had moments where, because I really do care about this person, like, and I've expressed that to him, this person, and over. I'm like, I care for you, I always will. Like, I love you. Like, I want to get along. Um, so I try to like neutralize the energy. Um, but then the attacks still come, and then it's like I have a really hard time again staying in the higher self, you know.
Sure,
And
sure,
so
sure.
again,
I'm
I
not
guess
saying this
what
is
I'm
easy.
yeah, I guess what I'm hearing is like when I'm going back there, that's my wounding again. Like, and so then, it's kind of like a you make the mistake and you try again and learn, right? Like, so that hopefully you can create something different the next time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this thing, what begins to unhook here was when you get neutral about being crazy. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say this from one perspective. Once you get the ego thought system, this ego mind identity, simply from one perspective, is insane.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And when I'm identified as it, the the assault, you're crazy, lived in from inside that thought system goes, you can't say that about me. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. Goes into this, and we get into an argument.
Yeah.
So the thing that's crazy is arguing about being crazy or not crazy.
Yeah.
And it's neither that thing that's crazy is not who you truly are. Now, saying that doesn't make a lot of difference. It has the possibility, though, of opening maybe a new perspective that the thing I'm defending isn't actually real.
Mhm.
It's a illusory self. It's a, someone said it this way, it's like an imaginary friend that's temperamental and insecure and angry.
Oh.
It has taken over your name, your relationships, and is running your life. And when it's running my life, it was running my life. It still runs my life at times. When it's running my life, I am insane. I
Yeah.
am crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you're in bondage, to like you're saying some unknown paradigm. And it's
Someone, nothing is running my life.
yeah, like it just feels like you can become enslaved to the belief box.
Well, we are.
Yeah,
Let's not can become. We already are.
right.
That's the good news. If you get that you're enslaved to that belief box and you have tools that can begin to disassemble those beliefs that are running in that box so they don't have the power to run your life anymore, that would be the access to true healing.
Yeah. So what are some tools that help you in undoing the box?
Well, let's do the box called lazy. And you've worked with me before, and one of the ways is that I like to do this is actually challenge the belief that I'm not okay if I'm crazy. And because I've been identified as this ego thought system the majority of my life, and it is crazy, it's actually okay being crazy, but it's not willing to be crazy. So it's crazy pretending like it's not crazy. And if you can feel into the pattern in your life, when you feel crazy, like when you're attacked, you actually feel crazy because it's not peaceful.
Mhm.
It's agitated, it's irritable, and it's not really rational because it's wanting to lash out. Haven't you had times in your life before you started to get more awareness that when you were felt like you were attacked and called crazy, you just went into a rage?
Um, I'm not conscious of one right now, like a memory of one time, but I'm sure like internally, like I have memories
There,
of
that
getting
works.
really upset
That works.
inside. Yeah.
That works.
Okay.
Internal rage.
Yeah.
And when you're in that internal rage and you're in there, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's just pain, like pain about being misunderstood.
What's the voice in your head saying
Um,
about you and about the situation?
hmm, trying to go back to like a time when I really felt that. I guess like not being enough, like um feeling crazy.
It
Um,
does feel crazy in there, doesn't it?
yeah,
Because it's confused,
yeah.
done, shocked, angry, hurt, sad,
Hmm.
suppressed.
Hmm.
All of that's going on internally.
Yeah.
And what can come out of the mouth from there is
Yeah.
either going to be inaudible or not understandable, or it's going to be angry, it's going to be defensive or attacking. It's pretty much the only options that it has, because it's got all this energetics going on internally, and it's in this state of agitation and confusion. And if it doesn't get expressed, acted out in some way, what we do is suppress it.
Mhm.
Now, you and I have a tendency in our patterns, personality patterns, to want to go into denial that we're angry and upset, want to maintain it, like a sense that I'm in control. I want to avoid the conflict or keep on avoiding and all of these kind of things.
Well, for me, I don't want to avoid it because it's just that my experience of trying to confront it gets nowhere. And so that's
Well,
where
that's my point. So it doesn't, so it just shuts it down.
it's like, why
You
try?
choke it down.
I can't do it with this person. Like they won't show
They
up
won't.
to create resolution.
So the resolution has to happen internally within you,
Yeah.
not within them, not within the dynamic at this stage.
Yeah.
As long as you're triggerable, does that make sense?
Mhm.
A place where you get activated, as long as that activation's going up, available in there, life will continue to bring to you that which will trigger it until you meet it newly. And this is how we get through this injustice.
Mhm.
Because there has to be an internal belief about yourself that gets activated when you're challenged, when you're said you're crazy.
Mhm.
And that's for you to look into, see if you can find, oh, where in my life have I believed or thought I might be crazy?
Mhm.
Or where in belief that I've heard that crazy is so the worst thing to be in the world, that
Mhm.
I can't even imagine letting myself even consider that I may be crazy.
Yeah.
Even in those moments, I am crazy because I'm angry, upset, disheveled, irritated, frustrated, even if I'm not trying to show it.
Yeah.
So, can you get that it is crazy in there sometimes?
Say that again.
Can you get that it's crazy internally
Yeah.
sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like as you're saying that, I'm thinking back, like, where did it start for me? And this individual, like in the connection, I noticed they would try to pinpoint other people as crazy um, when we were on good terms. And so I would see that pattern where they were doing that to other people.
So
And
when your friend is pointing out crazy out in the world, okay?
well, in another connection that this individual
Yeah.
had prior to me, and I believed it. Like I was like, okay, what he's saying is true. And then the roles got reversed and he started doing it to me. And so then it became this like being like at first I didn't believe it. Like I was like, that's just his stuff, you know? And then through time it was like hearing it so much and so much and like getting beat down so much and so much that it was like verbally and emotionally to where I started internalizing it, you know? And I think oftentimes in connection, we're taught, it takes two. And yet, like, I think there are, and it does, I think on some level, but I think there's times in abuse where it can get really confusing, you know?
Well, of course, it's confusing.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing of working with in abuse dynamics,
Yeah.
because when we start to doubt ourselves, then we open up to maybe they're right,
Mhm.
maybe, and if somebody says something long enough and strong enough, and they're important to you and they matter, it's almost like the big people are running your life,
Mhm.
and you learn to agree or pretend to agree
Yeah.
or acquiesce or try to find a better way of acting that's acceptable, so that So the ego patterning goes into many adaptive states in order to survive.
Yeah.
And when we get into our, midlife years, and we've got this experience behind us, we pretty much have already decided a lot about who we are and what we are and what we cannot do, and how we need to behave in order to be acceptable and avoid the things that would have us be unacceptable because we want to belong. We want to feel like we're protected in an environment. And then we're in an environment with one who becomes the abuser and becomes the one that can't protect us, and we can't hide anymore.
Mhm.
And we can't pretend anymore. What do we do?
Yeah.
See, we'll either do one of two things. We'll collapse or we will rebel
Mhm.
because we feel captive. We don't feel free. But what we're trying to do in this dynamic is manage an external dynamic
Yeah.
before we deal with the internal dynamic.
Yeah. And it's not
Now,
possible. Yeah.
well, we can get out of the external thing. That's why we get separated. That's why we get separate from the dynamic from the impulse. Put some space between us
For
so
sure.
that I have some recovery time. So now I can start to do my internal work.
Mhm.
Now I can go in deeper and start to realize, where are my internal triggers? Where am I believing I'm crazy and pretending over top of that because I don't want to see it. I had to make friends with crazy here in a way.
Yeah.
I had to allow that, see that my reaction out of that, being called crazy or stupid or evil, whatever thing that would come, I was never going to be free of that until I went in and found it. Part of me that was crazy, part of me that was evil, part of me that was controlling and dominating
Mm.
in that in here. And the deeper we got into seeing that, I could tell that I had the distinction. I really grateful that I'd been taught that there was a false self, not a real me that I'd been relating to like it was me. And then there was a true me, a real me that was not ultimately not even damageable. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
There was the true self is actually invulnerable in one perspective. The small self, the one that's the wounded self, that's now identified as inside of this ego thought system, is very vulnerable. I mean, is very vulnerable and very sensitive. And so it needs to be met with enough self-awareness, self-compassion, self-empathy to see what's actually running it. It's the most courageous journey anyone will ever take,
Yeah.
is the journey into the wounded self.
Yeah. I can
And
see
we
that.
can't do that without first getting some access to the true self. Get a little more self-aware, a little more self-accepting, a little more loving, then we can dive a little deeper. So
Yeah.
we work on the surface levels. And when I'm pointing this out to you around being crazy, if I said to you right now, you're crazy, and you said, thank you, I know, what would happen to the conversation between us?
What would happen to the conversation?
Yeah, you're crazy. And you said, I know.
Yeah, well, I know you well enough to know like that's okay.
Or
And
you know me well enough that I want to get present to, even when I said you're crazy. And I say it like that, really like in your face, Jessica, you're crazy. See how the thing went, and the energy went back in, retreated.
no, I'm not
Did you
conscious
feel it?
of it. I'm not conscious of it. To me, it's just it's almost laughable because of my connection to you doesn't feel threatened. Like I don't feel threatened in it.
Your identity doesn't feel threatened with me.
Mm-mm.
It does with your other friend, though.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
Um,
What is the identity that you're attached to there that's important to you?
well,
Do you feel?
I'm learning to detach from it. It's not as important as it used to be. But
Yeah.
it comes from a place of like I really cared about this person and um very much loved this person, and for them to just smear me and to mischaracterize me like in
Yeah.
such a painful way. Like I think that's
Don't you question your sanity when you got together in the beginning? Now, why did I ever get involved with this? What was wrong with me that I didn't see this was going to happen?
yeah.
Okay, see, that's the background conversation
Mm,
that makes you crazy. Because it's going, what's wrong with me? Why
yeah.
didn't I know this? No, 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 no. It spins and spins. It just can't, and it doesn't really find really good answers around it
Yeah.
because the mind can't come to a resolution there, can't resolve things, can't reconcile it because there's some part of this conversation, or sorry, this idea, the program in the background that's still running, that is not the truth of you.
Yeah.
There's still a deeper misunderstanding that is being related to like it's accurate.
Mm,
We may have some awareness of it, but we're trying to pretend over top of it with some positive statements or some tricks of the mind.
mhm,
But we haven't really allowed ourselves to go deep and feel it, feel into it, and meet it with self awareness, compassion.
mhm,
And that's important. We start to meet ourselves. And we can do that as we gain a little more awareness, a little more self acceptance, more power. Personal power starts to get a little stronger here. Sometimes we need a guide. Sometimes we need someone to walk with us who can help find the way,
mhm.
be with us, encourage us to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a little bit what this is about today,
Yeah.
is giving you this enough security, enough safety in a conversation to look a little deeper and see what's actually there.
Yeah.
Now, that's really brave to do online in front of people
Yeah.
who look for you. And if you do it, I promise you, in a way, it will create more acceptance and more affinity to you because now you will have something and access to something that actually connects to people. Because
Mhm.
we all have stuff in the background. All of us do.
Yeah.
Some form of I'm not good enough, some good I'm not wanted, some aspect of I'm not important, I'm a problem, I'm not lovable
Mhm.
as I truly am, not, as the way think I think about myself the deepest, I don't think that's lovable because it's really coming from that wound. But that which is deeper than all of that, the truth of you, the innocent one, oh, that is only love and lovable and
Mhm.
loving. That's who all of us are at the core. We don't always get to express that in this lifetime, in this experience. But I think there's a lot more of us now who are having the opportunity to tap into it and see, oh my gosh, the one I thought was rejecting me wasn't the one outside me. It was me who was rejected me.
Mhm.
I one decided when I was little in an upset that I'm not lovable, I'm not acceptable.
Mhm.
No, immediately, and then we have to deny the truth about us. And then we believe this thing on some level, but trying to, but not willing to believe it's true. But we believe it, but not willing to believe it's true in some levels. We think it is, but we don't like to be. We don't want it pointed out. We don't want anybody else telling us that we feel that way.
Mhm.
So anytime that energy comes at us, it already pushes against our own defenses against us, our
Yeah.
own pretenses, and it just makes us crazy. Being crazy may be your access to getting free of this, though.
Yeah. Well, what I've learned too is, when I can just sit in this space of seeing it as a gift, like, and seeing the persecution as a gift, like, because like you're saying, it's triggering something in me, right? It's triggering a wound that I've been carrying. And when I can see that as a gift that that trigger's showing up so that I can reassess it, like it really helps in the healing
Yeah,
process.
it's so important when when at you like that, that you disengage, get to a safe place, and then do this work.
Yeah.
You just got to disengage. Don't stay in the argument. Don't stay in the abuse. It's so important you leave. And
Yeah.
you have found ways to get separate from that so that you have some space.
Yeah.
And it'll keep coming in a way until we get the lesson.
Yeah.
Which is that
I'm
it's
not,
really awful, doesn't it, in some ways? Like, what? Why does it keep coming? Do we get the lesson? Well, because the gift is the gift of that rises in me when I learn the lesson.
yeah.
And the lesson, hopefully, we learn on this one is that I'm not vulnerable. I can't be hurt by someone's feelings or their attack. I can't literally be hurt by that.
Mhm.
The only time I hurt, that is because I go into agreement with it.
Mhm.
Energetically, I go into agreement with it. And then I don't like that because I've already been spending a lifetime fighting or pretending over that or not wanting to deal with it. And here's this thing, won't let me not look at it.
Mhm.
So the gift is it gives you an opportunity to look at it.
Yeah, and I think it's a gift to like you're saying, tapping into that higher individual and getting out of the ego and like remembering like who you
Yeah.
really are. Like
Just recognizing that true self is popping through often, all the time. It's popping through.
Mhm.
Moments when you feel peace, the moment you feel joy, the moment you're happy, the moment things are just, gosh, you're just going really well. You feel inspired. You
Mhm.
feel good about yourself. Those moments, that's the true self. It's there. It's always there. It doesn't come and go.
Mhm.
It's always there. And when you're aligning with that in your thinking and your understanding, when you're aligning with that true self, then injustice doesn't have any place to land.
Yeah.
You don't feel it or sense it or have the internal reaction that makes you crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep saying crazy just because I want to desensitize yourself to this construct. Crazy. It's just an idea of the mind.
Well, what like you if you ask the question what is crazy, it's subjective.
Yeah.
Like one person will say one thing and another will say another. So what the hell is crazy? Like
Whatever you say it is,
I don't know what
it's
it
what
is
you
other
say.
than I've been accused of it. So I'm like, okay, like
Well, when you think people are crazy, remember have you ever thought somebody was crazy?
yeah, like I've had people confront me and they just maybe they're on drugs or something.
Okay.
They're just acting weird. Yeah.
They're acting weird. Yeah.
That to
So
me is
from
crazy.
one perspective, anything around me that's weird,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
My clients will tell me they start to discover something true about themselves and go, this may sound crazy. I think I'm really a great person.
Yeah.
Or they'll have an insight and inspiration and go, I don't know if I should talk about this because I think maybe I'm crazy. I think I'm hearing like voices that are telling me things that make me happy and bring me joy and inspire me. And maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah.
We hear this so much. It is like one of those memes that really we've been used as weapons against people for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
I know your friend. If that one would call you crazy, you have to be coming from a place internally that it's making them crazy.
Mhm.
Woundedness there, the confusion would be over there. There's project this idea of crazy over top of you and others. This whole thing is like these two old men in a rocker chair, they're sitting next to you, and they're friends, they've been long friends for a long time. And one friend turns to the other friend, he says, I think everybody in this world is crazy except you and me. And I'm beginning to have my doubts about you. So where's crazy? Is it in the world or is it in the eye of the beholder?
Yeah, the eye of the beholder. Yeah.
So if you get like triggered by crazy, you just haven't found it in you in a way that you can see that it's not true, not real.
Mhm.
It's a way of reacting that sometimes feels weird to other people
Mhm.
or different than you normally are. Like if you're someone who's held in your feelings all the time, and now all of a sudden you got access to your feelings, and now you weren't going to hold them in anymore. You were just going to feel them and express them. I'm not saying to attack anybody with it, but just to feel it and express it.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, she's gone crazy. Look at her. She's feeling all this stuff and she's saying things she never said before.
Mhm.
It would seem weird and crazy to someone else. But if you had awareness and you knew what you were doing, it would be liberating that which you have suppressed, repressed, that
Mhm.
shows up in patterns of separation and rejection and defense,
Yeah.
that you're now letting yourself experience and let them be liberated. And that happens through being really present with yourself and intentional, allowing yourself to feel and express those feelings. So
Mhm.
sometimes when you're alone and you're not going to disturb anybody and you find that anger that's in there, that rage that's in the background, and you allow yourself to acknowledge your rage and to express it, to say all the things that you would never say because you're a good girl, and get it out, let it out, let it out, and do it with conscious awareness, presence.
Yeah.
It's not going to go any other way. You can't process it away without feeling it, without honoring that emotion in a way that is not destructive to yourself or another. So when you learn to hold space for yourself and allow yourself to feel what you've suppressed, express it in a way that it feels honoring of that emotion.
Mhm.
Anger is one of the hardest sometimes, especially if you're a good girl.
Yeah, I think as
Not
women,
one.
we're almost like told not to feel that, you know? And if we do feel it, I f- I feel like we're attacked really quickly.
Yeah, but see, my mother would get angry at me.
Mm,
She'd grab me and stop me and spank me and tell me not to do that anymore.
mm,
My dad would get angry, do similar things, but my dad he was more like you are. He wasn't, he
mhm.
wasn't a mean person.
No, it's
My mom could get mean real easy and quick,
yeah,
or so.
yeah,
Uh, and as I got into other relationships in my life, I I was in one relationship for quite some time that was my school for what it is to be like somebody who goes into rage, uncontrollable rage.
like you were that person or she was?
She was.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then I got in touch with my uncontrollable rage.
Mm,
I got to let it out. I got to experience it. I got to express it. Now, when it was at each other going, that was never healing. That didn't bring any healing.
yeah,
It was when there was enough conscious awareness and presence that I could allow myself to say it and honor it and experience it.
yeah.
And then I could be with somebody else's rage.
Mhm.
It wasn't until I could be with my rage that I
Yeah.
asked to be with anybody else's rage.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so when this one came at me with rage after I had this awareness, when I could just pull her into my arms, pull her tight, and just hold her like I love you. Oh,
Mm.
the rage. Because what does the rage want? It wants to be seen,
Yeah.
wants to be know it belongs, and wants to know it's safe, it's lovable, it's acceptable, and it
Yeah.
doesn't believe that it is.
Mm.
So it's attacking, attacking, attacking. Don't get too close, don't get too close. Because then you'll find out how flawed I am, how much I don't like myself, how much I
Mm.
hate myself.
Yeah. I can see that in past relationships. Um it's really challenging when that like you're the one being attacked though, like to be in that space. It is so painful. Like
That's why it's important to get out of the space. Don't
yeah, for
stay
me
in
it
an
was. It's
abusive
like I
relationship.
couldn't stay in it. It was like I couldn't actually heal.
No, you can't.
Oh, I
And you
love
got out, didn't you?
I did.
But you're not free of the relationship because it still applies in that dynamic. So
Because
things that
it's
tie you there.
because it still lies. Is that what you said?
It's still alive. The relationship
Oh.
still exists. You're not living with it. But you
Yeah.
do interact with it.
Well, I mean, I still have to interact in some ways, but as well, and so it brings it alive in that way. But yeah, I mean, I've been working on the anger part and sitting with my anger. I agree with you. I think that's really an important part of healing and acknowledging
Let's
that.
sit with your crazy self.
Are
No, really, I'm serious.
you
You want to
triggering
just
it?
I'm serious. I want you to find the thing in you that makes you crazy.
You want
This
me
whole
to?
relationship, this whole relationship with this friend has made you crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? It brings up the thing in you that's crazy. It's not the thing that made you crazy. It's the energies that come at you that trigger the crazy that's there. Can you hear this? Otherwise, you're a victim to somebody else, what else someone else is doing in a way that you think they're responsible for making you crazy. It's not them that makes me crazy. It's my reaction to them and my internal mechanism of defensing and surviving and things that have me crazy because I don't have, it's like, I don't know how to be, I don't know how to fix this, I don't do it. And I mean, I'm really literally crazy. And when I made contact with that in a way that was compassion and acceptance for it, oh, that began to relax this thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I don't have those energies coming at me like they used to.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So what happened that you could see it this way, the field of attraction that is the craziness that's in me that I'm pretending isn't crazy
Hmm.
keeps bringing it at me till oh, it's in here. I'm the thing that attracts it to me.
Hmm.
I'm that powerful.
Yeah.
And from another higher perspective, it was necessary to keep attracting it until I could be responsible for it internally. And the
Is that,
moment I got
oh, sorry. Is that just by sending it love, like internally?
that's seeing it, it's here.
Yeah.
It's here. It's here. I'm sourcing. I'm the thing that makes me crazy in their presence. They don't make me crazy. I make me crazy
By
because
giving
I resist, I fight, I argue, I defend.
for giving it attention. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to give now. I want to go into the crazy that's in me that I found. And I want to meet that with my attention. But my attention this time, my focus is not to fix it or change it, but to see what it actually is about.
Hmm.
What are the beliefs in the background that I've been believing about myself that aren't the truth?
Hmm.
Because only lies can make me crazy. My misunderstandings, my false perceptions that I think are true that aren't true, they're lies. They're
Hmm.
false. They're lies. Not like somebody's lying to me. No, it's not about somebody lying to me. It's me lying to me. I've been totally mistaken about how unlovable I have been, that I'm not wanted, that I'm not important, that
Hmm.
I'm father, whatever it may be, for me, whatever it may be for you. It's like at some point in time, the thing doesn't hook until it says, oh, I'm the one who said that originally. I'm the one who believed it. I'm the one. Oh, it's in me. And when I meet that with inquiry, with awareness, with self-acceptance, and I see that it's just a mistake that I made up about me in a moment of upset, that I decided that I wasn't important, I wasn't wanted, I'm not, I don't matter. I did that. Oh, and I could see how all the world, was supporting, showing me that I was right about that. So I would find evidence and evidence and evidence and evidence.
Yeah.
It didn't make it true though. It
Yeah.
was not the truth. It was the decision of an upset child.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I mean, it helps you to take back that power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I got that, I'm the thing I was mostly attached to as I got older and older is that I'm not important, trying to be important.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, when I really saw it, and I had enough awareness, I had enough training that when I got to that place where I saw it, well, it began to disassemble. Then the question of, well, then who am I or what am I
Mhm.
if I'm not this thing that's trying to be important? And it wasn't about being important anymore because that was part of the lie. That was part of the fix.
Mhm.
The thing that came in is that there was this awareness that who I who I was, who I am is contribution.
Mhm.
That's what awoke in me.
Mhm.
And I think that's what wakes in everyone. Some aspect of who they are is contribution. They're not trying to get something they're not trying to be something in order to get love, acceptance, and approval anymore. When we wake up to who we truly are, it knows that the source of the love, acceptance, and approval that it's been seeking out there is in here. It's internal.
Mhm.
And since I found it here, I didn't need to seek it out there. And then I saw it was out there. It was always available out there. But I had blocked it, the awareness, because I'd already decided I didn't matter. I'm not important. I'm not wanted.
Yeah.
So anything that would speak to it otherwise, I thought, oh, that's really great, but it'd never land because I had already decided it wasn't real, it wasn't possible. So I dismiss it, and I take more and more evidence that I'm right, that I'm not acceptable, I'm not lovable, I'm not wanted.
Mhm.
It's how the mechanism kind of works.
Yeah.
I just had to get willing to consider maybe I'm wrong about all that. Maybe, maybe that's not true, that I'm not wanted or not important or no matter, no problem, whatever it may be. These are deep, deep subconscious programs
Yeah.
need to be seen and met through the eyes of awareness, allowance, and acceptance. And when you bring the light of love and acceptance to it, what is true will stay true. What is false will just disappear.
Mhm.
It'll start to fade because I stop giving it my attention anymore. So when this thing that goes, you're not important comes up, I know what it feels like. I know how it reacts. And I can sit in it and I can believe it and then go into my old patterns of survival around that because they will still rise, or I can question it. I question
Mhm.
because when I believe those things, sweetheart, I am crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
because you're disconnected from your true self. Like, yeah.
you're connected to, you're aligning with the crazy self, the ego. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It literally is crazy. Its whole thought system is insane because it's upside down from the truth, completely upside down from the truth.
Oh, it's so powerful. I love it. I love what you're teaching, Robert. I think it's amazing. So,
So
I,
how are you feeling right now?
um,
What's going on in there?
well, it's uncomfortable like to share my stuff openly with people, but so I feel uncomfortable, like, but I also feel, um, I guess I feel relief too. It's
Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. A little bit of
it's relief of I no longer have to live under that rule of thumb, like that falsehood. Um I really love what you said about how, the hardest work we'll do is really coming back here. And that's what I'm going through right now. That's the journey I've been on because I think when you're in this process of healing, you realize like, I can't numb out anymore. Like I can't numb out in social media. I can't numb out with food or, you can't do it with sex or people or you realize like it's never gonna fill you. And so it's such a beautiful and painful journey though, because you realize it's here. It's like I have to find it here if I want to heal. And
well,
so
it's so easy to find within your feelings.
mhm,
You can follow your feelings.
oh,
Follow that. What's generating those feelings? What's the belief that's generating those feelings that are uncomfortable to make you crazy?
yeah.
So you find if you were to follow one thought all the way to the core, and you really got to the belief that was running that thing,
Mm,
and if you could get to the place even when you could see where the genesis of that attachment happened, we don't always have to see the genesis like that,
yeah.
but some we do. Some we definitely have to, because the more that we find of some that are really powerful like that, and we see the genesis of, then we can, those very specific dynamics, then we can begin to apply the principle in a more general way, which allows for us to, start to move up out of the woundedness a little quicker.
Mm,
But yeah, if you can really see what happened, what was going on in your life, what happened, what did you mean, what did you decide about it, that you've been living like that's the truth, like something I'm not good enough, or I have no power, I can't speak up, I can't share my feelings. I can't tell the truth. I have to be nice. I have to be good instead. All those kinds of things.
yeah, well, I think this one's really deep. Like like the way it's occurring to me is this belief is um and I'm feeling the sensation in my throat. So I don't know if that's because I'm
Part of
talking
it.
about it, but I feel like it's a belief of fear of being different. Like I think sometimes when we have certain like gifts and it's not acceptable, like even
There we
like
go.
religiously, like it can be really soul searching and painful to know how you fit in now. Like in a
I'm different. Say that.
I'm different, see.
I'm different.
And so that one comes up really hard for me. Another one too is that's coming to me is I feel like sometimes these things also, well, I feel like they come in family patterns, they're beliefs that are in family patterns, and we bring them even from before this life. So it could be like a compounding lesson is how it's occurring to me. So
I'm different.
yeah,
That's accurate. And I'm the same. I am different and I'm the same.
yeah,
It's it's not either or, it's both.
mm,
Yes, I'm different and we're the same.
yeah,
See, it's like if you saw it from a metaphysical spiritual perspective, you could say, well, there's one being that is in all beings, and we're that same being, and our expression is different. Your expression of that is different than mine. And without your expression, your authentic expression of that, that's different than mine, puzzle of life is missing a piece.
yeah. You feel like you're dying and you're not showing up, and yet you're paralyzed.
Well, you're in that bind. That's the bind. I can't be different.
Yeah,
And I am different.
yeah,
Easy.
totally.
Who told you couldn't be the different? See,
Lots
when
of
did that show up? That's the thing you want to look for. Do you go
well,
back and follow that one to the core?
that's religion to me. It's culture. It's even
Yeah.
family. Like, we maybe even unconsciously adopt certain. agreements, you know?
We
So,
definitely do that.
yes.
We definitely do that. We just go into agreement because it feels like we'll be safe. Then we feel like we belong, especially if you see the identity, the part that there's an aspect in most everyone that feels like they're different.
Yeah.
I worked with enough people. That's
Yes,
the thing. Core.
it's universal.
Yeah. Well, if we accepted that you were different and on another from another perspective, still the same being expressing differently in this form, uniquely in a way that is your most authentic expression, is this thing that is different about you. And you let that aspect of you come to the forefront.
Mhm.
In the beginning, you'll feel crazy because you've been mostly avoiding being different. And so there's all these mechanisms of suppression.
So-
Jumps you up.
Well, it's sad too because I've had this realization. I'm like, that's my gift to the world. Like, and here it's like I feel this need to hide it because I don't, I'm afraid of rejection, you know?
So what's the thing that's different about you that you've been hiding?
You want me to share that, huh?
I Yeah, I'd like you to. I'm inviting you to, and you don't have to. It's
Well,
just the moment you could get over this thing and be done with it, writing it, because it's like, here it is. And then publish the podcast with you saying it. Like, now you don't have to hide it anymore. Now you're free.
I'm free. Well, I've always been a really highly sensitive individual, and I think some of the gifts that I've been given, a lot of it's like on an energetic level where like I'll receive certain things from spirit. Um, um, or like I'll learn certain things that are like healing, but it's very like, out of the box. That's why, I
So are
told you,
you intuitive? It's one of your gifts, intuition.
I feel like I do have some of those gifts. Like, I
You have the
also,
gift of healing.
yeah,
Okay. You have the gift of knowing,
yeah, sometimes,
understanding,
yeah, where
insight, revelation, inspiration.
and oftentimes I will like see things in dreams and they come to pass. Um, Not always. I'm learning and I'm learning how to use my gifts, but sometimes I think culturally and religiously there's a lot of fear around these types of gifts and a lot of like ostracizing of people that have these types of
They're afraid of being different,
well, and I think even just
not belonging.
religiously like there are people that speak out against such gifts, I've seen a lot of like critical comments.
Yeah, well, this is my statement to that. It's like when Jesus was on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You understand, the planet is waking up.
Mhm.
And as we waking up and we move in different dimensions, you could say and you could see dimension as when you move into a new dimension, you have new gifts, you have new senses, the clear audio, the clear visual, the clear sentient. All of those things that you were describing are part of the natural aspects of the greater self. And you're moving into that alignment with that greater self. So those gifts come on. They are not different. They're very old. They're very much the truth of who you are. They're different than who you thought you were. But again, who you think you are, that's the ego thinking. And the ego doesn't know what it is. It's
Mhm.
confused. It's crazy. You, on the other hand, are not. And those gifts are actually very natural expressions of the elevation of consciousness. Is activating those inherent qualities of the being that you are in truth. And acknowledging you have those and allowing yourself to express those openly and face this thing you think is going to be a problem
Yeah.
may not be the problem you think it's going to be.
Well, it's been a problem in the past, and so I'm just
Well,
coming
past
off.
isn't now.
Yeah, I'm just coming off of that, I guess, still.
Oh, you are. There's no question you're doing that.
Yeah.
See, we're not the same as we were yesterday. We're not the same as we were a year ago or 2 years ago,
Yeah.
10 years ago. There's been so much more information about these gifts and that are out there on the web. So many podcasters are interviewing people who have these gifts, channelers, near-death experiencers, teachers, masters.
I know there's so
Boy,
much.
it is so much, and it's actually much more true and more natural to the who you are. And to suppress your gifts and pretend like you don't have them or kind of don't show them, honey, it'll make you crazy.
Well, that's where I was being told I was crazy, and I'm like,
Maybe they were wrong.
I'm like, well, that's what, spirit's teaching me is my contribution, right? Going back to that word.
Yes, your gifts, your natural gifts are what you needed and wanted in the world
Um,
more than more than anything else you do. Not the job, not the thing that makes money for you per se.
mm,
That's not as near as important as you actually being who you are in truth and manifesting and sharing your gifts with others. Because as you share your gifts with others, you wake up, you start to love and accept yourself more, and your gifts are blessing the world. It's waking other people up, it's assisting them through their process of awakening and healing.
mm,
Oh, so much the gifts are wanted in the world. So much these gifts are needed because without these gifts being expressed in the world, we don't make the shift as easily as we could.
mm,
The shift is already happening. We're not waiting for something to shift. We're in it.
mm,
You are it. Everyone listening to this is shift happening and their own awakening, their own expression. Each one of you who's listening, you have gifts, innate gifts that you may or may not be fully aware of yet, but you have some inklings or some ideas and like risk sharing them, risk developing those gifts, expressing them more and more. It's what we need, what the world needs now. We had the song "What the World Needs Now" is love. More love. I think yes, it does, but and it's in the gifts. It's in giving of the gifts of the Spirit, the gifts of healing, the gifts of knowing, the gifts of insight, the gift of connection, the gift of comfort, the gift of healing,
mm, mm.
the gift of compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. We could spend time listening to names and all the gifts on them.
They are.
Or
And
reading. Yeah, there's so many.
yeah, I really love this conversation because I think, I'm not, I like to think I'm not the only one, right? Going through this painful process of transitioning. And I think the more, like you're saying, we can talk about it and we can be transparent, we can invite others to also stand in their power. And it's
Yeah,
such,
let's be crazy together.
right?
Sharing of these, yes, people say are crazy. Let's be crazy together. Let's not let this that label that is meaningless
Oh,
in truth. It's meaningless in truth. Stop us from letting the greater light be expressed through us.
yeah,
Because there's a lot more of you still to come through.
yeah,
All of it. There's so much more, so much more.
yeah, for sure.
Baby stepping into, this realm that's emerging right now that we're part of, dramatically a part of.
Yeah,
And the rules are different in this new realm. The mechanisms are different. The interests in, where we put our time and our energy and our focus is very different in the new realm.
mhm. I had a friend recently tell me about the caveman analogy. Have you ever heard that? And then we'll
All right,
we'll
tell
wrap
me.
we'll wrap it up here, and I'll let you finish with your final thoughts. But he talked about how this analogy is, they're cavemen and they lived in this cave, and one day one of the cavemen decided to leave the cave, and he left for a while and got really excited and came back. And they had a big fire in the cave, and he said that's called fire because he had gone out and he had seen the world and he had learned, and he came back sharing, and the stuff he was sharing with them, they were like, no, that's not true, that's not true. And they just wouldn't believe him, right? Because they hadn't gone out and they hadn't seen. And the caveman continues to go out and to see more and more. And I really think that's what this transition is right now. There are people that are going out and they're seeing it, seeking spiritually deeper deeper meanings, and they're receiving, but there's many that are still within the cave, unwilling to see. And yet we're all like in the cave in some phase, right? We don't all have all the answers at all times, but I just thought it was such a beautiful illustration of really what we're trying to do right now. And you know
Yeah,
might
that
look like
is
a crazy
wonderful.
caveman that left, coming back trying to share. So yeah.
Yeah, there's that's a really great analogy. It's really clear that that's how it's been. It's like we've been in a box. I think the egoic mind is a box we get stuck inside of, and the truth is on outside of the box. It's fascinating to see. Oh, but all the real instructions for life are on the outside of the box,
Mhm.
like the recipe, to the cake mix. It's not in the box; it's on the outside.
Yeah.
Well, the recipe for life is really outside on the outside of the box, but you got to get outside the box to see it in a way. So it takes courage to let yourself be seen and known,
Yeah.
to let your light shine, to step out of this world where you have to feel like you need to protect yourself in order to be acceptable. I assure you, the more you try to protect yourself to be acceptable, the more unacceptable you will become.
Yeah.
You are acceptable just as you are, and it's waiting for you to accept you as you are, as it is for me to accept me as I am, and each one listening to accept themselves exactly the way they are. Because through acceptance, more of who you are can come in, because the space you're coming into is the space of acceptance.
Mhm.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So the greater self sending or embodying, coming into embodiment as you, the greater self, can only come in through acceptance.
Mm. Powerful.
Yeah. And what's false will just fade away, and what's true will remain.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's my final words. That's my final words all the time, all the time. Acceptance, acceptance. Allow everyone, allow others to be where they are.
Mhm.
Because when you don't allow them to be where they are, you go into resistance, and it makes you crazy,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it starts the fighting. Accepting others exactly the way they are, allowing them to have that space to the place where you can appreciate their expression is also the divine, either expressing knowing it's the divine or expressing it denying it's the divine, but it's always the divine in
Mhm.
everything and everyone. And when you relate to others as that's who they are in truth, things will shift in you.
Love it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Robert. I appreciate your time.
It
So
was an extraordinary conversation.
yeah,
I'm
it,
grateful you brought this one up.
yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate your insights. It has me thinking in ways that I think are positive. Is a good thing for me, just to get outside of my own box with that one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Thank you for coming out of your box to be out here with us.
you're welcome.
So
And
anyway, we get to play with you as you come out of your box to play.
yeah, yeah, it's a little vulnerable, but it's a good thing. So,
Did
those,
excellent. Roy.
oh, sorry, what?
I said you did excellent today.
Thank
It was
you.
really, really good.
Thank you. The follower, those that are listening, if they want to reach Robert, we'll be sure to leave his information below. He's, again, a transformative coach. And so we'll be sure to leave your information. And again, thank you so much, Robert. Have a great day.
You're very welcome. Anytime.